Welcome again. In this video, I'm going to show you how to work in the object-oriented paradigm. Specifically, we're going to talk about encapsulation and visibility. So, what does these two words mean? So, encapsulation is the fact that we can hide elements into different levels, or structure elements into different levels of structure. So, we can work inside a class and we can work outside a class. So the inner workings of the class do not have to be shown to the user, and they can work outside without knowing all the complexities that hide beneath it. This is one of the most important concepts in computer science, and this is what has allowed us to go from very simple computers, not nearly a century ago, to these computers that we have today that are capable of doing so much and so many things. We have three features for encapsulation. First, we have classes, so we can group objects with similar characteristics. So, for example, a square and a figure and a triangle, or maybe animals of different kinds. We can also make use of abstraction, which means that the user does not need to know how anything is implemented. They just have to trust that something works as implemented, and they can call it. And finally, hiding, which is a feature from visibility, which we'll see later, that helps us remove elements from the user's point of view, such that he can interface more quickly and easily with our classes and programs. Let's see an example here. If we have any object, we can have public and private methods, and public and private attributes. So whenever we have a private attribute, the user cannot see it. They cannot modify it, and they cannot interact with it. So it's easier for the user to only use the public methods, and those public methods in turn can use private methods and private attributes to work their way through the program. This way, the user has fewer options and does not get confused, and we can be relatively sure that the object can be interacted with in a safe way. So let's check how we can make attributes invisible. We have here the square class, and in Python we can hide variables with a single underscore and methods with a double underscore. So for example, the init method is not a normal method but a constructor, which we can call by using the name of the class down here with the my_square equals square 5. So the init method must be hidden such that the user cannot use it. However, this method can still be accessed. So for example, we could say square.__init__, and we could still be accessing that method. Same goes with the variables. We can, instead of calling a variable color, and we can call it self._color. And this will hide it from most tools. But if the user knows the name of the variable, he can still access it using the exact name with underscore. But this name will not be suggested to them when they are working with an IDE. You can see that in this case we can print the color even though it's a hidden attribute, but it's a good practice to hide the variables that the user does not care about and does not need to modify directly. So, if we can hide it a bit, let's try to hide it a bit more. We can also use the double underscore with attributes, as you can see down here with __color equals color, and this makes it a bit more private. So if we are inside the class, we can always access this attribute with the double underscore prefix, but if we are outside this class, then this attribute gets a little bit more hidden. You can see that the first print statement, which uses the double underscore syntax, results in an attribute error. And it says, oh no, the square object has no attribute with double underscore color. But if we use underscore the name of the class, then double underscore the name of the attribute, we can still reach this attribute. So this is just a convenience for the user to signal to them, don't go looking for this attribute. This is a private attribute. You should not check it, and you should not access it in any way. You should not change its value, etc. But the user, if he so desires, can change the attribute to whichever value they want, and can check the value of the attribute. Instead, we're gonna signal the user that we want them to use getter and setter methods. These are normally called get underscore the name of the attribute and set underscore the name of the attribute, and as their name suggests, they can both return and modify respectively the value of the attribute or instance variable. Let's see an example here. If we have the square class, we have two attributes, color and side, and we made them both private by using the double underscore. So users outside this class need to use a very cumbersome syntax with underscore, square, double underscore, and the name of the attribute, either color or side. But we made a few helper methods such that the user will prefer to use these instead of the attributes. And in this case, we're just checking and either returning or setting the value, but we could use these getter and setter methods to do more complicated operations. And for example, check that the color is actually a real color that exists instead of a random string of characters. And for example, that the side is positive. If we do so, then we can have a bit more complex getters and setters. As you can see here, if we only take a look at the side, we can check, for example, that the side that gets passed into the setSide method is typed as an int, and that the side is positive, because otherwise it would not be a valid value for this attribute. If we check the usage of these methods, we can declare a new square, and then we can get the side value by using the getter and print it, and we get 10 as specified in the constructor. And then we can also use the setter to set the side to 5 and print it again to see that the value has actually changed inside the square. You can always make attributes and methods private or not by using these underscore and double underscore techniques. But you should not always do so. So for example, attributes should be private when the user should not modify its value. So for example, when we have an attribute for the area of a square and we want to keep it computed every time, but the user should not change the area, they instead should change the side of the square. And then that setter method should also change the area whenever the side is changed. And of course, when not all values are allowed, so for example, when the side must be positive or the color must be a real color, for example, red, pink, black. For methods, we mostly hide methods when the method is not really useful to the user. So for example, the init method has no use apart from being a constructor, so we hide it. And we can also create private methods that are not useful outside the class. So for example, a method to double a value or squared a value, which is not useful outside the class, but can be useful inside to compute the perimeter or the area, etc. And these methods and attributes are not really private to the user, remember, they can always access them, but private methods do not get suggested by autocomplete, and private attributes are likewise hidden from the view of the user. There are a few private methods defined in every class in Python. These are used to compute these operations. For example, if you want to add up two squares and you want to create an adding operation for squares, you can use the hidden method underscore underscore add underscore underscore. And there's a multitude of these methods. They're mostly used for binary math and logic operations, for example, an equals, a less than, a division, integer division, and many other operations. And of special interest are those here on the leftmost column with the length and the conversions to different types. And so, for example, if we wanted to override any of these methods, we would just have to write a method with the same name and the same number of attributes. And then whenever we use that method somewhere, your new implementation would be used. So for example, if you want to change the textual representation of a square, we can check back in the table and see that the conversion to text is done with the string method, which is called double underscore str double underscore down here. And we can always redefine its meaning such that, for example, we use a parentheses notation with the color, a comma, and then the side. Note how we need to change the side attribute into a string because, of course, it was an integer. And if we call this new method, and we call, for example, print my square converted to a string, we'll see the full representation that we have created with this overridden method. And this is all. See you in the next video.